What's good, Gooners? Big up to Arsenal, massive win last night. And I've got to congratulate two people in the 101 forums, and that's Nay, you got the prediction right. Randall Boatswain, you got the prediction right as well. As you know, I went for a 0-0, and I wasn't being cautious, I was being very wary of the threat that Olympiakos pose. But the organisation from Mikel Arteta speaks volumes. This is a guy, we're now 9 games unbeaten. But that doesn't tell the whole story. So let's go into the numbers a bit. You guys know I'm a numbers person. So let's go into the numbers a bit. 5 out of those last 9 games that were unbeaten, we kept clean sheets. It's now 3 clean sheets in a row. So over 5 hours now, Arsenal have gone without letting in a goal. And yeah, you know, there's been teams have hit the post and whatever, but it doesn't tell you the full story. Leno had a fantastic game last night, made a few quality saves that really kept this team in the mix. Olympiakos had 3 yellow cards. One of their major players, a centre-back, is going to miss the game at the Emirates, and they're going to sorely miss him. And from there on, we just controlled the game. I think they were on us the first 10 or 15 minutes, but in the last half an hour, the first half, we totally controlled it. And then, as you'd expect, Olympiakos came out very strong in the second half, but then it took us a little bit of time to get our feet going. And in the last 25 minutes, so in the latter part of the second half, Arsenal just dominated the game. And, you know, so how did they do it? Arteta kept the team tight. You know, it was the 4-2-3-1. But I think he made some adjustments, and this is what we have to give him respect for. This isn't, it was broken at first and we had to make halftime adjustments. That none of that Emery stuff. Aubameyang was on the right side where he's ineffective, and Martinelli was on the left where he is effective. And it was just a matter of what we were doing at that number, you know, not so much Willock, because I thought that Willock played okay yesterday, but it was just trying to get them more support as far as the strikers goes, and that was Dani Ceballos. Dani Ceballos came on and really showed up just like he did, providing Ozil with a lot of zip in our last league game. And he did the same last night. As soon as he came on, it was a different game. And Aubameyang then moved over to that left-hand side, which is where it's more favourable and comfortable. And listen, let's talk about the build-up of the goal. And again, before I do that, big shout out to Saka as well, because Saka pulls back into that left-back position when Saka makes his attacking runs up the field. But the one thing that I noticed, and as I said on the forums last night, is in the first half, I said, for me, the best player for Arsenal on the pitch was Mustafi. And yes, he still sets off on angles a little bit. You know, his positioning is still a little bit airy. But what he was doing with the ball shows you why Arteta is choosing him first on the pitch. His through balls to the midfield and to the number 10s were astonishing. They were as good as I've seen any Arsenal player this season. And normally, it's David Luiz who gets those accolades. But with Mustafi, playing it out from the back, and listen, Olympiakos really didn't know what to expect either. So they were sitting deep on the midfield, and Mustafi was passing through them like hot knife on butter. He was slicing their midfield apart. And when you're playing a ball through 3 or 4 players, you're nullifying that part of the team. You're completely taking them out of the game. And as soon as the likes of Lacazette, Aubameyang, when Joe Willock was picking up the ball, when Martinelli was picking up the ball, they were picking up the ball already having passed 4 players in the midfield. And it was turning, and they were starting to get easy penetration. That Lacazette early miss and Socrates hitting the bar, just so many chances where Arsenal could have scored. But the actual goal, guys, came from a 60-yard Mustafi pass to Aubameyang on the left flank. Aubameyang then cuts it back in the overlap to Saka, and then Saka goes in, uses his vision, sees Lacazette is in there to make the run, and then curls it in terms of a flawed cross into Lacazette, and he gets on the end of it, and it's 1-0. But it's just the movement and the vision, the movement from Lacazette to understand that Mustafi's hit a 60-yard pass to go across the field, the movement and overlap from Saka to run into space and pick up the ball from Aubameyang, and then Lacazette's movement into the box beyond 2 defenders for the finish. It's something which I've talked about many times. You've got to work hard. You've got to perfect that movement in the final third. That's why we've been struggling. And so let's look at the stats. The stats tell us that we basically ran the game. Now, listen, remember when I said to you guys we used to let 25 and 30 shots in my last video? Well, we've been averaging about 10 to 12 shots. Well, last night we gave up 11 shots. So that was right within our remit of average shots that we're letting in. And then we had 13. So we had more shots than them. This was a team who's won 16 of their last 19 games at home, who drawed Spurs, Bayern Munich. This is a team that has just come out of a prestige competition like the Champions League. If you guys don't think that Arsenal deserve to be in the Champions League after that display last night, then you're on something. You're smoking something. Yeah, and I don't want none of it. You're smoking something, because Arsenal looked progressive last night. They were forward thinking in their movement, in their mentality, in their discipline. It was a brilliant away display for Arsenal, and I just love the fact that Arteta was able to see those things that needed Dani Ceballos in the game, and at the same time still have that defensive stability. It's been absolutely brilliant. David Luiz Mustafi pairing is what it is. And it's funny, we put Socrates in there at right back. It definitely had something to do with the set pieces and the head-in, because obviously you saw Socrates hit the bar on one corner. But it definitely had something to do with that. And remember, a lot of people got shocked when they found out that Socrates was quicker than Aubameyang over 15 yards. So it's maybe a little bit of that in terms of cutting back and then trying to stomp out the crosses coming through. Socrates definitely is a lot better at that. So it was good to see him being implemented there on the right-hand side. But there's a lot that's going well with this team. There's a lot that's riding on it. And Everton's going to be a tough display in order for us to overcome that. We're on a really good run at the moment. And if I was Everton, I'd be concerned and worried about coming into the Emirates to take them out, because if Arsenal win that, then we're going to start jumping up the table very quickly. And we know the Man City game's been postponed, so it's not like we really have any tough fixtures, although for me every game is hard. I want to say a big shout out last night to Bukayo Saka. BT Sports gave him man of the match, and look, sorry, I'm going with Mustafi. That's just my personal opinion for someone who had a major effect on the game defensively and offensively. If that 60-yard pass doesn't break the midfield wide open and split the defense, then we don't score that goal. And look, all accolades to Bukayo Saka. And let's spoil him a little bit. Let's talk about him a little bit, yeah? Bukayo Saka's a man that his picture actually still says on the Arsenal website that he's in the academy. If you go onto the website now, this is some strange anomaly. If you go onto the Arsenal website, his picture's not even in the first team. It's actually in the academy team. So it's almost like he hasn't been promoted yet. But this is a guy who has 9 assists, an 18-year-old player who has 9 assists. And big shout out to Martinelli, was on the field 18 years old. Guendouzi was on the field 20 years old. Willock was on the field 20 years old. That was a very young team that we had out there, mixed with those veteran players. And that's how you bring them along. But in regards to Bukayo Saka's 9 assists, that's more assists than Raheem Sterling, Andy Robertson, James Maddison, Jack Grealish. This is a guy who's... How much is he actually worth? You tell me that now. How much do you think that Barcelona, PSG, Bayern Munich, Real Madrid, how much would they pay for a player like Bukayo Saka? Think about it for a second. If you've got some of these players that are worth 80 mil, 90 mil and all that stuff, how much is an 18-year-old that talented at the moment now? Yeah? You all saw how much money Mbappe went for. How much money is Bukayo Saka worth? Actually, let me know your thoughts. Put that in the comment section below. I'd love to hear what you guys would think about it. But overall, guys, an amazing display. As an amazing tactical fortitude shown by Arsenal, and some mental toughness and disciplined game planning And it's just brilliant to see. And if you guys ain't on board already with this change with Arteta, I know some people were saying, oh, what has he done after 10 games, drawing the whole heap of games? Guys, seriously, he's turning this thing around. And if you ain't seeing that now, then you're blind. Blind like the three blind mice. Yeah? Because I love what I see at the moment now. So listen, I'm just looking forward to Everton, so I'm going to drop a preview for that soon. I'm going to be taking my son and my wife to that game because it's my birthday next week. So I'll be there at the Emirates. But listen, big shout out to Arsenal. It's half done now. You got the away goal. Now Olympiakos has to score 2 goals inside the Emirates. And if they're going to come out in an all-out attack formation, then Arsenal's just going to pick them off on the counter-attack, and it's an easy win. But nothing's ever easy. Let's get this game all done with. Let's get through to the quarterfinals, and let's see if we can get this thing done. Remember, listen, last year we knocked out the favourites who would come down from the Champions League. Yeah, we battered them out of the way. And it looks like we're doing the same thing this year. But I just want to see how Arteta manages. Look how Arteta's... This is his 2nd month. He's not even been a manager for 2 months. And look what he's doing. Yeah? Remember when I said to you guys, I would rather Man City clone or Man City light than anything that Ancelotti or Brendan Rodgers or any of those guys can do. I would rather be a Man City clone and a Man City light in terms of their structure and their philosophies than anything else. Because regardless of Man City being cheats and the players that they've been able to buy and the money they've been able to spend, it's the tactics, yeah? It's the things that they do that make a difference. Yeah, all the money in the world will not work if that brain power and the game planning doesn't go behind it. So guys, I'm going to leave it right there. Big thank you to everybody. Shout out massively to Goon Squad and 101. And I'll speak to you guys soon, man. Peace out. Right back at you. Quarterfinals, here we come. Peace.